First thing I'd like to do is I'd like to thank the panelists for coming here today. They come from other states, and they represent organizations that are involved in raising the bar of our industry. And the whole idea is really, it's workforce and economic development. That really hasn't changed. Anybody know who the first person in this country was that got involved in workforce and economic development? Who?
Henry Ford?
Nope. A guy by the name of Ben Franklin. When we became a country, the whole thing that happened is that we had no workforce to be able to make the country survive, and we didn't have an economic plan. So Mr. Franklin sets up the University of Pennsylvania as a training ground for people to manufacture a lot of the products that he invented, the potbelly stove, swim fins, and so forth and so on. As we move through our training and education system, the mid-1800s produced what we have as the land-grant institutions and our A&Ms, agriculture and mechanics. That evolved. Today, most of the people who are in those industries, we call them doctor, but they were the practitioners who set up the best practices. So as we move forward through today, we have organizations doing the very same thing, community colleges and organizations involved in, excuse me, in best practices. So this group here is going to tell you a little bit about who they are, what they do, and what their organizations are all about. Hopefully we could get by all the acronyms because our industry is filled with them. And if you're not involved with this industry, it's like speaking Russian because everybody talks acronyms. So first I would like to introduce Laure-Jeanne Davignon. She is the director of the Credentialing program for the Interstate Renewable Energy Council. Next we have Michelle Nochisaki, who's the program design coordinator for the Building Performance Institute, and Miles Grosbard, who has a bunch of acronyms. He's an architect, he's BPI, he's LED, he's AP and department chair of construction management at the Community College of Philadelphia. So, do you have a large business card, Miles?
It doesn't.
Unbelievable. So, I'm going to start with Laure-Jeanne. If you would tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are, and why do you do it?
Again, my name is Laure-Jeanne Davignon with the Interstate Renewable Energy Council. Since that is such a mouthful, and can everyone hear me at the back of the room? Oh, sure. I'm based in upstate New York for the past about 20 years, but I spent the first 16 years of my life in New Jersey, actually in North Jersey, so usually not many people have trouble hearing me speak. So again, I'm with the Interstate Renewable Energy Council. That is a bit of a mouthful, so we refer to ourselves as IREC, so I'm going to be using that acronym throughout the day. You might say, well, geez, you know, we're talking about a lot about home energy performance and energy efficiency today. Why is the Renewable Energy Council here? Well, IREC has always had an acute interest in energy efficiency and weatherization, but through the beauty of ARRA funding the last few years has had an opportunity to really ramp up our effort. Here knows, especially the community college who's about to embark on their exciting solar installation. If you don't have energy efficiency, you know, use of renewable energy is really not going to work. So that's our interest. Basically, IREC is a nonprofit organization. We've been around for over 30 years doing a lot of very quiet work, so a lot of people don't know who we are, but we've been very active in regulatory reform, workforce education, and credentialing and standards development. And specifically, since my colleague from BPI is here dealing with the practitioner side of things, we specifically accredit training organizations and certifying instructors, some of whom are sitting here in this room today, in the energy efficiency and renewable energy space. And one of our largest concerns is that the education in this realm be of high quality, as Liz mentioned, and then it be aligned with real job skills, so that practitioners in the field are performing safely and effectively, and encouraging consumers to, buy into these technologies, because we all know that we're just not there yet. And I know New Jersey's taken a huge leap forward in the past few years, but we still have a lot of work to do in encouraging consumers to step up to the plate and do the right thing, both for themselves, but also for the state and for the country. So that's my elevator speech, and I'm happy to share a lot more throughout the panel.
Sure, thank you.
Elizabeth Ackerman. I am the Director of Economic Development and Energy Policy at the Board of Public Utilities, and staff and I run the Clean Energy Program. So I'd like to thank you for starting out by saying that renewable energy is a great clean energy, and there are very appropriate uses for it, but it really does have to start with energy efficiency. And the Clean Energy Program has about a $250 million a year budget to run energy efficiency programs. We also have renewable energy programs, but today I'm going to focus on the energy efficiency side of the house. We break those programs into C&I, another acronym, commercial and industrial, and residential programs. The residential programs are largely focused on appliances, heating and cooling equipment, washers and dryers, but at the same time we run a Home Performance with Energy Star program that is a more comprehensive whole house approach to energy savings, and we rely on contractors that are BPI certified, so we're going to hear from this young lady shortly, and who will tell us a little bit about that. And that program typically, in addition to heating and cooling upgrades, involves air sealing and insulation to try to start to address building shell measures. On the commercial and industrial side of the house, we have a much broader suite of programs. We have a local government energy audit, so there are jobs to be had in energy auditing. That program is open to municipalities and nonprofits in order to have somebody come in and give you an audit and an overall understanding of where you can achieve energy savings. We have a direct install program. A direct install program is a turnkey operation where contractors come in, they do an energy reduction plan, an ERP. They file all the paperwork on behalf of the applicant. They negotiate the contract on behalf or with the applicant, but they do all the filing of all the paperwork. They then come in and do the energy efficiency measures. Again, many of them are focused on HVAC equipment. Lighting is certainly an important part of that program as well. And the good news is the contractor and the Clean Energy Program work very closely together to make those energy upgrades happen quickly. We have pay-for-performance programs. These programs tend to be with larger commercial interests. Again, they're comprehensive programs. It is for new construction as well as retrofits. Certainly along the Jersey Shore, we have enhanced incentives, both at the residential level and at the commercial level, for those businesses and homeowners who have experienced damage as a result of Superstorm Sandy. I encourage everybody who is interested in learning more about how to be BPI certified to get involved in our programs, the incentive levels, the enhanced incentives that are available through our storm response program. NewJerseyCleanEnergy.com is where you can find answers to many of your questions, and if you have additional questions, you are free to call us and we will work with you to get you started and get you involved in the program. It's a great program, and there is a lot of money to be spent on energy efficiency and renewable energy in New Jersey, so I encourage everybody to take advantage of it.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Next, we're going to hear from Michelle Nochisaki, who is the Program Design Coordinator for the Building Performance Institute, or the PDC of the BPI.
Gotta love those acronyms. Like Walt said, my name is Michelle Nochisaki. I am right now transitioning into my program design coordinator position with BPI. BPI's mission is to deliver home performance, or to deliver the benefits of home performance by building a highly qualified workforce for home performance and weatherization. We have been around since 1993. We were initially born out of the Weatherization Assistance Program, and we're supposed to only be a third-party independent quality assurance organization to verify worker skills. Over the past 20 years, and more recently, I'm sure you've all heard of BPI within the last 5, we have become accredited by the American National Standards Institute for our standards development and for our personnel certifications. Sorry about that. We develop professional certifications for individuals. Again, those national standards that our certifications are built off of. We develop professional accreditations for whole contracting companies. And we do still continue that third-party quality assurance service that we offer to contractors, homeowners, and utility, state, and local programs. To this day, we have over 35,000 certified individuals in all 50 states and out of the country. We have over 145 state utility and local programs that require BPI certifications for their contractors or contracting companies. And again, quality assurance is our number one priority, making sure that the home performance work is being done following those building science standards, which looks at the whole house as a system, which is not only energy efficiency, but also the health and safety of the occupants, the comfort of the homeowners, and making sure that the work is being done correctly. So I'm BPI.
Next, we have the guy with all the initials from the Community College of Philadelphia. He is the Miles Grosbard. Again, he's the department chair for construction management and building science. Dr. Miles.
Good morning, everyone, and greetings from across the river in Philadelphia. I'm on the faculty of the Community College of Philadelphia. We are a very large, one of the largest in the country, community colleges. And I'm department chair of a department that has moved strongly in this direction of energy efficiency for buildings. As many of you may know, Philadelphia is home to one of, I guess it's about a dozen energy efficiency hubs around the country, and we have a connection there. Our program is, as is true of many community colleges, we have a short-term kind of mission, and that is to improve worker skills in response to market developments, and this is certainly one, the Sandy situation, and couple the immediate and emergency need that's happening right now with the sort of longer-term societal goal of a more efficient use of our resources. And also, on the other hand, a lot of young people or mid-career people are looking to improve their academic profile so that they can earn a degree and move into construction management is normally thought of as being practiced at the kind of level of the Driscolls and the Gilbanes and the Turners and the very large construction companies that do work worldwide. But there's a mid-level tier and there's a smaller business level. And skills like safety, construction cost estimating, scheduling, contracts, these are things that people need to take a look at a kind of a broader, more dispassionate way, and not in the hubbub of a what you need to get done that particular day. So we at Community College of Philadelphia try to serve both needs. The kind of quick, I need to know this because there's been a shift in the law, and in Philadelphia we have ordinances coming out all the time that kind of shift. Liz and I were talking a little while ago that the only thing that's constant in this energy world is the constant change, and year by year, almost moment by moment, the profile of the skills that are needed are developing, and it's important for community colleges especially because we are a little closer to the action and a little able to evolve more quickly, let's say, than baccalaureate level institutions that take a really long time to develop a program. So we got this building science thing going in a pretty short period of time. We're trying to somehow coordinate with what BPI does. Let me just give a little shout out to BPI. How many of you know what that is, BPI, Building Performance Institute? How many of you have a BPI certification? Okay, so you know that that was not easy to get. That's some serious business and very important skills. So we are trying to kind of academize that knowledge base and introduce a program called Building Science at Community College, which is just getting started now, and take a look at all these very practical issues and also the kind of longer-term societal issues that deal with alternative renewable. But first, as someone has already set up here, the first order of business is squeezing every bit of utility out of every BTU and every kilowatt that we use, right? If we can get double the bang for that buck, it's a very easy buck to get. And we are pleased to be a resource to Atlantic Cape. I didn't mention, and I guess I should now, so about 11 and a half miles from here, I also have a property here down at the shore, and I'm close to this action too. So I'd like to extend my good offices. We are a little bit, perhaps programmatically and curriculum design-wise, we're a little bit further down this road, and we can help out. Okay, that's my opening. Thanks so much.
EPI in our industry is like Angie's List. That's where you're going to go to have some assurance that the people who are doing the work have the proper skills, knowledge, and ability to be able to perform it. But one of the things I heard, Michelle, that you were saying is you have people who are certified BPI, but you also have companies that are BPI certified. What's the difference?
Hopefully everyone can hear me. If not, raise your hand and I'll try to shout louder. So we certify individuals gain a BPI certification, and we accredit contracting companies. So technically that company says I'm accredited as opposed to being certified. What that means is, as the individual, you being certified, when you go out and you perform work on a home, whether it's weatherization or diagnostic, testing in and testing out, you are following BPI standards. Again, a little detour just going into the BPI standards themselves. Building science, so that whole home performance, looking at the house as a system, that one interchangeable, breathable unit, all systems of that home working together. When it comes to accreditation for a contracting company, you are saying that you, within that company, you either have one individual, multiple individuals that hold at least 2 BPI certifications. One of them being our basic building analyst, your basic auditor doing the testing in and testing out, with one specialty certification that is specific to what your organization does. If you're an HVAC company, your second certification would be either our AC heat pump or heating professional certification. I'm sorry. Once you are accredited as a company, you are saying that those individuals who hold that certification are ensuring, again, that all the work you are doing is being performed to our national standards. If you are an accredited contracting company, that also means that you are put into our third-party quality assurance program, which means that we will actually come and check on some jobs that you do. It's based on how many weatherization jobs or BPI jobs you perform that year, etc. But again, just to ensure that you are doing work the right way, that health and safety is being factored in, energy efficiency and comfort for those homeowners.
Miles, of course there's going to be a lot of rebuilding and retrofitting going on here. You're the architect, construction guru. Every time we talk to a contractor about the construction of a house, what they say is that, oh, we have to build this house so it could breathe. And then when we come along, we say it's leaking. What's the difference between breathing and leaking?
How many of you have been doing this for a decade or more? And do you remember the end of the 70s or so when we were building very, very thick houses and really tightening them up? Nobody remembers that? Okay, I remember that. So, you do, okay. The problem there was that we were tightening a building so much, but not providing enough outside air, and people were getting sick. And the job has evolved, and sort of we're working at a broader knowledge base and sort of a higher level now. We have to tighten that building up. That's job number one. You could tattoo it on your forearm if you like, ladies and gentlemen. Perfect the envelope. Make that envelope as airtight as you can. But at the same time, you have to provide enough outside air and ventilation to make people safe and comfortable and energy efficient all at once. So we're smarter now than we once were. You have to tighten the building. You have to get control of your interior environment. That's job number one. Does that answer your question?
Sure.
Sure, okay.
So hopefully, when we do the reconstruction, retrofitting, and building as a result of Sandy, some of this whole, quote, building science, I'm assuming will have to be taken into consideration for energy efficiency. Anyone could take this, but
Excuse me.
yes.
I didn't quite get the answer. If a house is too tight, there's no fresh air in, and you say we still have to tighten up, how do you get the fresh air in?
Well, you know, there's perfect and there's perfect. Enough, even after you've done everything, you're okay. But oftentimes you've done a great job and it's really a tight building, and then you have to mechanically ventilate.
Thank you.
That's kind of like confusing, because you say tighten the building up, but yet people get sick, and then we say, well, you gotta get air in there. What's the suggestion for getting air? Is it like an air makeup?
It is.
System that you put in there, so then you just defeated tightening the house up?
No, because you're controlling how much exterior air you're bringing in. You're bringing in the right amount.
And there were temperature and humidity levels. So it's the idea that buildings and
Can I help?
Please.
We now have the tools to accurately assess how much airflow is in the building.
I'm a proud holder of 2 BPI certifications, and it is our job to coordinate and to think broadly about why problems in an existing building are there, what the possible causes are, and what the likely prescription is to fix them, and irrespective of a kind of a commitment to a sale of a window or a door. So it may well be that the right answer, not often though, ladies and gentlemen, not often is the answer put in the new window, but it may be. Or it may be, how about duct sealing? You can't make a lot of money from sealing up somebody's ducts, but that would really be very, very helpful. It's the job of the BPI analyst to go into a building and find these things that are, especially inexpensive things that can save a lot of energy, and coordinate and take a broad view of all the measures that are possible and select the ones for a particular application that would have the biggest impact for the smallest amount of investment.
Any question? And I actually do, if you hear what Miles said, we've seen this, and the one that I always see the most is when they doing new construction or even retrofitting, and you take the building and they wrap it in Tyvek, right? Right? Everybody knows what Tyvek is? Why do they do that? What's its purpose? Anybody? Anybody?
Stop moisture from hitting the wood, but it lets it breathe from the outside.
Okay.
The holes in the Tyvek let air pass through, but they're swollen up through the water molecule.
So then, why when we get the utility to come in, they start puncturing the Tyvek and nobody seals it? So you have your electrical service coming in, you have all of the other utility services coming in, and your Tyvek now looks like Swiss cheese. because nobody has the responsibility to seal where the electricity and so forth came in. So I think a lot of this information comes out of the work, I think, that the Building Performance Institute and IREC has been doing. But where do you get your information? I mean, who's in charge of saying this is what we want to do at the federal level to kind of nationalize this? Who sets these standards?
The industry. You can't, BPI or IREC or any organization can't sit in a room and say, well, these are the technical things that we need to be looking at to make a home healthy and, energy efficient. One of the jobs of organizations like the Department of Energy, the National Renewable Energy Lab, BPI, IREC, is to convene industry experts from across the country, all kinds of weather zones, things of that nature, people who are subject matter experts in their fields, like you guys, to say, what are the 50 things we need to look at to make sure that, the home ends up how we want it to be, and that people are doing work to certain specifications. So, a lot of what we do, it's not extremely sexy work, but it's a really, it's very process driven. And it's convening the industry to first of all, put on paper or discuss what are these things that we want the industry to be emulating as best practices. And then also going outside that group that said, hey, these are the good things, and saying, hey, rest of the industry, do you agree with these things? And so, because if it's 10 people sitting in a room, you're not going to get something that, first of all, the industry can buy into, but secondly, is a good product. So that's actually a lot of what we do as national organizations, is to convene these groups and make sure that these standards and these accreditation and certification processes really are industry validated.
I mentioned ANSI before, another acronym, but the American National Standards Institute. BPI is accredited by them as a standards development organization, and then accredited by ANSI, ISO, IEC 17024 for our personnel certifications. What that means is that we answer to an international organization that makes sure that when we develop standards or we develop credentials, our certifications that match those standards, that it is done in an open, consensus-based industry, subject matter experts. We have to. It's best for the industry, it's best for the homes, it's best for the people whose homes we're working on, but it ensures that it's not just BPI sitting in a room saying, this is what we think is best, and this is how it all needs to be done. We answer to them annually, internal audits, submissions of processes. Before I took this new job, I was in charge of working on our ANSI accreditation, and let me tell you, I have never done more paperwork in my entire life.
No, you haven't. You haven't gone through IREC accreditation.
That's right.
It's similar. It's very.
This is, I'd rather have root canal every day than to go through.
We're nice people, though. So.
You're very nice people. Listen, why is, oops, I'm sorry. Yes.
It's not enough to have an accredited contractor, though. I've watched my home be built roughly 7 years ago, and, there's no oversight, there's no inspections from these outside organizations. It was an Energy Star home, it was sold that way, supposedly tight building envelope. I'm constantly looking at ways to make my home tighter, as it were. But who's training the subcode officials, construction subcode officials, and providing oversight there?
That would be the Department of Community Affairs. The Department of Community Affairs is the one that trains and certifies or licenses building inspectors. I will say that if you take advantage of the Clean Energy Program, there are site visits that are done by our market managers who administer the program. They do not inspect every single, but they do absolutely make site inspections to follow up and confirm that the quality of the work, that the equipment being spec'd is the equipment that's being installed, that the equipment in certain programs is meeting those performance standards. So if I can encourage everybody to look at the clean energy program, there is a level of oversight, QA, QC, quality control, and inspections that goes on with a fair number of those installations.
If you have an Energy Star house, it needed to be inspected by a third-party independent organization.
Open house radar, right?
Every Energy Star house, there's some sampling available, but typically New Jersey does not. Most people inspect every house, so I would assume that, you know.
Do they do a blower door test? when they
Blower
get-
door test, duct blaster test, visual inspection,
Before the sheetrock's
Multiple
up, right?
installation
before
inspection.
sheetrock. After the house is finished, there's two inspections required. There's modeling required. So if you have an Energy Star house, it 99% was inspected at least twice. In addition to your code inspections.
Yeah, above and beyond.
Right,
the
right.
building
Third-party independent company should have done those inspections.
What does that add to cost to the center?
It's an added
Energy
cost.
Star?
It's an added cost, no question.
Is there an average for that? Is there any kind of an idea?
I would say 6 to 10%.
How much is that?
6 to 10.
For an Energy Star house?
No.
No.
That's on the outset, though. Over the life of the home
Right.
is a different story.
Yeah, but the initial cost of it.
Right, right,
Is it 6 to 10%?
Okay, let me.
What is it now?
Ben, do you know? Ben, Ed? Do you have any idea?
So we look at McGrath Associates for an Energy Star homes provider, and so we generally look at the certification cost, and then there's the cost of upgrades to meet the Energy Star standard. And so we'd say that it's possible to do it without incurring large amounts of additional cost at all, because there are trade-offs, there are things that you can be doing for code, and then do minimal upgrades beyond that in terms of cost, which make a huge difference to the performance of the building, like air sealing, for example, and duct sealing. So we don't tend to see the kinds of incremental costs that, for example, the Bldg program, which is a green program, incurs. And the other thing that is worth noting is that the New Jersey, the Clean Energy Program, has an Energy Star New Homes program, which provides incentives which are designed to offset both the certification cost and the incremental cost. And those incentives, my understanding is, will apply to the Sandy recovery work, as what is kind of the corollary to the Home Performance with Energy Star program for retrofit. So.
What I said, I think what I said.
It depends on where you're starting from. If you're starting from a standard code house,
Right, standard code house compared to an Energy Star.
I mean, to me, the biggest difference between a standard code house today and Energy Star, the biggest expense that you're gonna have, one, you have to hire a private contractor to do it, whether it's ourselves or Grant, is an Energy Star rated furnace and a 14.5 SEER air conditioning system. So those are gonna be your two biggest things. If you're-
Windows?
Windows,
Tie-back?
you know, Tyvek is, yeah, I mean, you still gotta put those things in anyway, so that the
Well, there's
additional
certain standards
cost
to that.
should not be, you know,
I mean, New Jersey has an energy code now anyway that we're gonna have to adhere to, which puts us, 90% there anyway. So it's really just incremental adds in terms of testing and all that you're gonna have to do. And-
Well, if it becomes a standard, then everybody's
Well, New
accepting
Jersey
it.
builds to energy code has been adopted by the state of New Jersey, so you don't really have a lot of choices, and the little bits and pieces extra that you have to do to get the Energy Star
So
are at
it's a
that much.
minimal cost then.
Right.
Perception, though,
Re-
is that it's more expensive.
Right, that's,
It is more
Right.
expensive.
Right.
But remember, those upfront costs need to be amortized over the life of the equipment because of the energy savings that the lower energy
One-time
bills will
cost.
be paying as a result of those upfront costs. So some of it is changing our mentality, that it's an investment that will be paid back.
Couple of comments, Jim?
That's one of the problems that you run into with construction today. typically when we're doing electrical projects, we do a life cycle cost analysis. So let's see what the impact is going to be over time. That's all well and good, but the typical builder or developer wants nothing to do with that. It's low first cost, low first cost, low first cost. And this is where the education needs to take place, starting with, for example, BOMA, where you really need to go into the builders and developers and change the way that they think. Because once people get into doing that life cycle cost analysis, it becomes a whole different ballgame, and that's what we're all trying to achieve.
We talked, okay, some more questions?
Well, I was just going to add that, even if it costs, for example, 3 to 5% of construction costs to meet Energy Star version 3, which is a more stringent standard that's been introduced over the last year or so, which does cost substantially more than an Energy Star home used to cost. If that cost is passed on to the consumer, even at its full cost without any incentive, the consumer is experiencing a net positive cash flow on a 30-year mortgage because they are saving more in any given month than the additional cost amortized on their monthly payment. So if they're saving $80 a month in energy costs and that costs them $20 or $30 a month in the additional cost that they've put onto their mortgage at most, then they are winning every day. So payback is not a good measure for energy efficiency improvements compared with net positive cash flow. And that's true for retrofit as well. If you put your money into, if you finance the improvements in your home and you're earning more back in savings every month than the cost that you're paying out for those improvements, you're winning every day.
And what other home improvement can you do that saves you money?
Right. Credit card
And can finance something else. But, I mean, it's the paradigm of pay less shoes. If you pay less for your shoes, you'll be replacing your shoes more often. So you should pay more.
All right. One more.
Good question. I mean, you're trying to train building inspectors. I mean, most building inspectors are failed contractors in one way or I'm just trying to say, you're talking a 10 to 15-year cycle to train these trainable people. Why don't they just come up with a standard like a blower door test before the sheetrock goes up?
It's in the 2012 code.
What?
It's in the 2012 IECC Energy
Well,
Code. Mandatory blower door test.
implemented in New Jersey?
Well,
Across the state.
it's starting to be now, yeah.
But then you don't have to worry about training the inspectors. They're going to have to comply. What is a blower door? They're going to get a training on it from outside
No, it'll be a
agencies.
third-party inspection.
It's a third-party inspection. The building inspector is not going and doing a blower door test.
I understand that, but have it like a subset. And the quality of insulation and air sealing is going to go up because the builder's not going to get a CO.
Exactly.
And they'll get educated really quick.
That's happening today.
And hold up their cash flow on their buildings. Hey, you have to go back in and do it.
Yeah.
You know, how many builders' homes have I insulated? Do I get all their work? No, they go to the low-cost guy. So it's just a question of, I think California's doing it actually in certain size homes.
Yeah, but I think that the Toll Brothers and the Havnanians and all of the big guys are already doing it. They're already on board. So if you're dealing with cheap hiker contractors that are building homes on the cheap, they're always going to build homes on the cheap. But all of the big guys are in on this Energy Star and quality insulation.
I don't know, the blower door test doesn't work. You got it right there, pour the rocks up, do the measures, redo it, a couple $100, go in, and take care of it.
But it's in the code now. It's in the code.
Some of what we're
New Jersey's
talking about
adopted
really
the code.
will be covered with the next panel, a lot of this information. I guess there were two things that I heard that may add to a little confusion, but what I heard was something about job tasks. It says the job tasks have consumer education. What are we talking about with job tasks?
Well, this is like gear shift a little from what we were just discussing, my apologies. One of the ways that we ensure at IREC that because our piece is making sure that students are being trained, okay? So whether this person ends up being a building performance contractor or whatever they're doing, we want to make sure that they're, first of all, being trained to a job that exists out there, because a lot of the trouble with some of the clean energy training that was going on in the past was it wasn't aligned with industry needs. We weren't ready for these things yet, whereas we may be getting there. So we want it to be aligned with the industry, and we want to be teaching people to perform safe and effectively. One of the tools that IREC uses to evaluate the curriculum, that whether it's a community college, ECA, and actually ECA has undergone this process, we use what's called a job task analysis. And I was talking about the industry experts sitting around in the room deciding, okay, so what is it when you're doing the blower door test, what are the precise things that that person needs to know how to do and how to do them in order to do the blower test effectively? Because if you're not doing the blower door test right, you're not getting the results that you need, and the home is not going to have the results that you need. So the job task analysis is actually a process we go through to ensure that we're describing the job, the knowledge, skills, and abilities, and the job that these folks need to do accurately. And then IREC takes that and evaluates the curriculum that someone's teaching in order to make sure that everything's covered to make this, whoever it is, perform well at their job. And then BPI takes that job, same job task analysis, this is a chain of quality, and
We take the job task analysis and then also the knowledge, skills, and abilities and break it down when we create our certifications and then the exams that an individual must pass and go through in order to obtain the certification, to make sure that we know how to do it and that they will do it the right way. BPI, what we have set up is an online exam and an actual hands-on practical field exam where the individual must be in the field doing the blower door test to match those standard work specifications and meeting all of the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are needed in order to pass the exam in order to become BPI certified.
Do with manufacturers of equipment and stuff like that. What standards, I know there's standards, 90-some% efficient furnaces, 14 SEER air conditioning units. Isn't it better to build equipment that's more efficient? And because you can only get to a building that make it so tight, but then you get to a point where you just plateau. But you can make equipment much more efficient.
You can. I don't think it's these
That's what I wanted.
organizations.
Does that cover any
There's
part of it?
other standards that speak to that. Our
Okay.
organizations don't deal with those, but Michelle mentioned the American National Standards Institute.
Right, they are.
Some of their other accredited orgs deal specifically with, the mechanics of this, the equipment, and I know Elizabeth has something.
And that is that the
That's
Office
easier to
of
police
Clean
up,
Energy,
right?
which
Yeah.
runs the Clean Energy Program, is your state advocate for setting those equipment standards and the incentive levels to offset the incremental cost of those higher efficiencies. We have monthly EE Energy Efficiency Committee meetings. You are all welcome to attend. You can sign up for our listserv so that you will be given a regular update of what's going on and the topics that are being covered. We have a renewable energy committee that meets monthly as well. And this is an opportunity for contractors and stakeholders to come help us shape the program. And we certainly do have influence with DOE and other state organizations when they are setting equipment standards.
But I don't think equipment is the weak link in the chain.
No, it's not the weak link, but I think it's easier to police because somebody mentioned that it's a fragmented business, and I agree with that
If you've
wholeheartedly.
been in this business for even a short time, the enormous improvements in the quality and of the machines that we're using, it's just terrific. We're working in an environment of wealth as far as that goes. The weak link in the chain is the installer and putting it in right and servicing it. That's where you can have the most efficient machine possible. You can have the next generation, and you pay more for that, by the way. That doesn't come cheap. But if it's not installed right, if the ducts leak, it just doesn't matter.
Right, no, I understand it, but if you can build equipment to compensate for the inefficiency in the field.
Well, that's what recharge units are all about for HVAC. That's because most of the time the charge is wrong. That's why it comes, you can run it 100 feet off the touch refrigerant. It's to take the engineering away from the field team and leave it in the factory where it really belongs. Most of it, the problems with HVAC, for example, are with the field mechanics of it, not the factory. At the Energy Star level, the stuff is good. It's the total equivalent length and restrictions that in the field when people don't think about it before the last minute, and then you have that through in small spaces. That's where the problems tend to be. The equipment at the Energy Star level is pretty good.
Well, no, I'm saying instead of having 14 SEER efficiency, you want an air conditioner, make that a minimum of 19.
It doesn't pay. They've already done this. When you go to 19, the cost of doing that doesn't work for a 2-ton unit. These people they've already thought this through. But getting back to what he just said, how many people walked into a house and see a direct efficient, 96%, and the plastic vent for the intake air is vented right there? All right, so right there you got a guy, you don't contractor, and hire someone who knows what the hell they're doing. And then, you know, I'm an insulation guy, and I know that.
That's the Angie's List of the industry.
What, it's
that we're
not
talking
the equipment, it's the quality installed. And the problem is what I have with BPI, you guys are great, but the guys who know BPI well aren't the guys who do the work.
Hold on, let's
That's
go
finding
to
that meld
address,
right there
we're
would
going
be
to
a
address
great
exactly
You know, the
what you're
BPI
talking about. When they were talking about these JTAs, okay, they're talking about 4 occupations, not 1, but 4 occupations. And I'm going to turn that over to both Laure-Jeanne and to Michelle to explain the 4 jobs and addressing what you talked about.
To start, I want to say that these 4 new certifications are just finishing this big long credentialing process where it goes from the JTAs to this, to this, to this, and are almost ready to be released for national rollout. So,
Michelle, you want to use the mic, just so everybody can hear you?
they're almost ready to be released for national rollout. As I said before, the ANSI accreditation process is a very long, rigorous process, and we have part of these 4, they're HEP certifications, so Home Energy Professional certifications. In 2009, DOE did a study and found that there were several market barriers to our home performance industry, that they weren't seeing the market growth that they wanted to see with home performance and energy efficiency in the house as a system. Those barriers, they came down to not having internationally recognized credentials, not having strict accredited organizations for training, and not having more specific credentials. So out of that study came this Home Energy Professionals Project, which are these 4 certifications that we are discussing. The 4 certifications end up being what they consider the 4 most important jobs in home performance. They are Quality Control Inspector, Crew Leader, Energy Auditor, and Retrofit Installer. Through the process, right now, they are going through ANSI accreditation. That was one of along with having the training organizations be accredited by IREC, these certifications must be accredited by ANSI. So I guess I'm just trying to differentiate between BPI's current, 20-year long certifications that many of you are discussing and are familiar with, and that these new certifications are just coming out into the marketplace. So that the standards and the work specifications and the quality of work that we're discussing are just about to be released. Yeah.
And will these, we have 2 questions. When will they roll out, and will they be required for the Weatherization Assistance Program?
Right now, the only certification that is mandated for the Weatherization Assistance Program is the Quality Control Inspector. And by the year 2015, any project that goes through the WAP program will have to have a contractor who is QCI certified. When the rollout, the way it works is all of the information has already been submitted to ANSI. ANSI has a separate PCAC committee, Personnel Certification Accreditation Committee, that now needs to look at them. They meet certain times of the year, and that is it. So we are waiting for their 1 meeting and to get the A-OK before they are rolled out. We are looking for all 4 certifications. The certifications went through the ANSI accreditation process in 2 sets. 2 went through and then 2 others went through. We're looking to have all of them accredited by ANSI and rolled out by the end of this year, well before the end of this year.
And what's the transition plan between existing certifications and the new one?
So the way we're looking at it is, home performance has been around. It is now becoming a big player in the industry, and we are looking to now advance and take these credentials and create a full career path for individuals in this field. The way we are looking at it is, and I know a lot of people earlier were discussing building inspectors and maybe appraisers and individuals who aren't going to be out there setting up the blower door, but at the same time they need to have this home performance building science knowledge, and if they're going to do their jobs as effectively paired with a home performance contractor. Well, what BPI has done is we've come out with a building science principles certificate, which is that overall building science knowledge, not certifications where you're having a hands-on practical exam to make sure you know what you're doing. We look at our 4 core certifications, so the certifications that have been around forever and a day now with BPI, as kind of like that journeyman level, as those individuals who have been in the field, have the experience, can pass the exams, are doing the work, are being certified, and now we look at these HEP certifications as the advanced, as the next level, as the foreman certifications. The reason for that is because A, there's prerequisites involved. Most of them come down to our 4 core BPI credentials, and then on top of that, there's years of experience. Again, it's all about the quality of the work. We want to make sure, DOE wants to make sure, the industry wants to make sure that the work is being done correctly. Well, the only way to do that is to do it right over and over and over again. Yes, sir.
So what's the difference between this and BPI accreditation? So in a company like ours, where we're BPI accredited and we have building analysts, building envelope, heating, air conditioning and heat pump. What's the difference between this and what we already have? Or is it the same thing, or is it just an outgrowth of the same thing?
So it's all built off of the same principles, and it is a way for individuals to differentiate themselves, or companies to differentiate themselves. We see this as, somewhat of a new market, a new industry growing. We wanted to make sure that there are credentials that match all levels of the industry. For new contractors coming in who have no home performance knowledge, who have never worked with the idea of building science, they should not be able to come in and gain their certification right away and then say that yes, they're going to be out there doing quality work. So again, we see it as a building block off of our core certifications. For people who already, like your company, who already hold those certifications, accreditations, once these certifications nationally roll out, will be factored in so that maybe you have a BA right now. A BA is very equivalent to the HEP energy auditor. The difference being the years of experience, the prerequisites. Well, if you already have your BPI building analyst certification, you fulfill those prerequisites, depending on how many years you've had it and your work experience, and one will transition into the other. Does that answer your question?
Not really. But if I could, some of these new certifications are for the guy who is physically going to go to the house and is going to do the air sealing. He's going to do the insulation installations. And then there's a supervisor, crew leader that is going to be the mechanic on the job. He's going to have his helper who's got the certification, but he's going to do that. Then there's an additional one, and again, it's based on one upon the other, and then it's a supervisor. So, I have 3 crews that I'm supervising, and I'm the quality control supervisor, so I have that designation. So it's great for us in the office to have these certifications, but if the guy in the field that's doing the work has no clue as to what he's doing, that's where the problems lie. So getting the guy who does the installation, whether it's air sealing, insulation, HVAC, it doesn't make any difference. If he doesn't know what he's doing, it's of no value. Those guys need to be trained. Those guys need to be certified. So these new certifications that some of them are a little bit beyond that, but the crew guy, the guy who's going out and doing the work, are the people that really need the education and the certifications.
So let me just chime in here. I think we have heard over the years a lot of criticism of BPI for, just to give you an example, smart kid, physics major at a good school, he can study up, take the test, and pass. and get certified, and yet he doesn't know anything about building. He's never built a thing, and he doesn't really understand how buildings work. He's just really smart, and he's really good at taking tests, and he can pass. So I think the difference here is the home energy professional is a notch above the old BPI, just to simplify it, and takes into consideration the experience, the years of understanding of deterioration of buildings, how moisture really works, what the field conditions are, and it takes into consideration the quality of judgment that results in quality work. So it's a professional, it's not the entry level, it's the higher level.